one time he like pushed me a little too hard, not to where I felt like scared for my safety, but to the point
Hmm.
where my wig flew off my head a little bit.
Flew off a little bit.
And
Okay,
so
okay.
and so then I was like,
Manic
Pixie.
Jump Scare. Hosted by Quinn Murphy.
And Becca Hobart.
Hi,
"Hi,
we're
we're
Quinn.
Quinn,
And we're
and we're
Becca.
Becca, and
And
welcome to Manic Pixie Jump Scare, a podcast where Becca and I talk openly about our shared delusions
passions.
and
And love
love for each
for each other.
other."
Is it my fault that all you better Okay. Yeah, so that's what I thought too. Um, welcome back, Quinn, and welcome back everyone
Welcome.
else.
Thank you, Becca.
All four of you. We love you.
Love you
So
guys.
today, yeah, you guessed right. It's true. It's true. It's true. The rumors are true. We are in another stainless deep dive. Um, this week, yeah, we're talking about wigs, which
Yes,
was
the
an
political
entry.
party from the 19th century. We're so excited to get into
We're
that
so
today.
excited. And Ben Franklin, come on out.
Ben, we actually have such a Ben Franklin, everybody.
Yes. Post lightning. So he's a little frazzled.
You struck me. Oh my God, a drag queen somewhere has had to do
A
Lightning by
Ben
Charlie
Franklin
XCX
number.
as Ben Franklin. I need to write that down. I
If
need to
not,
write that
yeah,
down right
write
now.
that down in
If
the
no one
notes
else
app,
has done it,
please.
that's going in random ideas, guys.
Oh my God. We will deliver on that visual
Wait, no.
hopefully soon. Um, yeah, so we're here to talk about wigs. And first we have to sort of like get a little background info. So I am curious, Quinn, when your obsession with wigs began. When did you first encounter a wig? Like what's your story there?
So as I talked about on this podcast, I've always had like a fascination with hair, especially hair
Right.
that grows on the top of one's head. Like that's my favorite genre of hair, really.
Yeah, totally.
Um, one of the most popular genres of hair too, I would say.
Yeah.
Um, and I, yeah, I've just always like I was obsessed with like playing with my mom's hair as a child. Like I loved like just touching it. I thought it was so
Yeah.
pretty and beautiful.
Uh-huh.
Um, and so then when I discovered wigs, I was like, oh my God, like
Life
I
changing,
could
actually.
I could have that on my head. That's actually transcendent to me.
Yeah.
And I remember there are these pictures from when my dad had this really good friend who I believe lived near us at one point, but then moved out to Ohio for work. And so we went and visited his family one time in
Hmm.
Ohio, and like they had two daughters, and so they had like a lot of like, more girlish and feminine toys, whatever that means.
Hmm.
And I was also all about those as a child. And so they had this wig, and it was like chocolate brown, and it had these beautiful little like braids down it. And there's this picture of me wearing like my Power Ranger pajamas with that wig on.
Slayful.
Um, and yeah, I just felt like I was really slaying in that moment. Um,
I'm sure you were. I have
and
no
so
doubt,
yeah,
actually.
basically any opportunity to put a wig on, I'm gonna do it. Um,
I'm there.
because you never, as somebody who's had a lot of different hairstyles, you never know what you want to try out.
Hmm.
You never know what might look good, and wigs give you a little chance
Well,
to
taste
test
tests.
drive.
Yeah.
But yeah, but Becca, what was your one of your first experiences with wigs? Or
Do you hear my dogs barking?
no, I did not.
Oh, fascinating, actually, because they're
Self
barking
report.
so loud, actually.
Dogs will do that.
Famously. Yeah, so I first encountered wigs. Well, Hannah Montana was definitely the first time I was like, oh wow, a wig can change someone.
Hmm.
It has the power to do so.
See, I'm a girl, but you know that I'm someone else too. If you only knew.
Don't break my heart, my achy breaky heart. Okay. That was not the tune of that song. Anyway, um, so and I do remember, which I've told this story before, as Quinn said, but it's worth repeating. I went to a Hannah Montana themed birthday party and I was very vocal about the fact that I thought there should be wigs available there to the party goers. We were given t-shirts with Hannah Montana's face, but I was like, yeah, there's no wigs, and that's kind of an issue, even though I did have naturally blonde hair. So it was not necessary for me actually, but I did want
Yeah.
one anyway. And
No,
that
because
kind of
it's a fully different thing. Because like wigs can also not only give you like a different hair color, but
hmm
also give you a different texture, a different
yeah,
style.
exactly. So yeah, and I think that kind of began my understanding that like wigs are it's a monumental accessory.
Mm-hmm.
Monumental actually. Yeah, and ever since then I've just been having fun with them.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
famously one of the most fun things to have fun with.
So true. So
Um,
true.
and yeah, I
Yeah.
also one of my favorite things to watch on like TikTok now is like wig installation videos.
Mm, I love watching toupee videos.
Ooh, I've never seen.
Oh my God. This one girl on TikTok is literally doing the Lord's work and is giving bald men toupees. And they all look so much better after their toupee installations. I cannot even describe it.
A little
Like,
hairpiece.
oh my goodness, she's actually changing lives in the state of Utah, one man at a time.
Literally. No, but I love like there's this one girl who like owned a salon and she would fully like I like them like I definitely like more the because there are a bunch of videos of like drag queen styling wigs, but like I find it interesting when people style a wig that's like gonna be worn for like a little while.
Mm-hmm.
Um and so like they'll put like bald caps on their customers and like there's this one girl who like would like literally like put the full like bald cap down on somebody's head like down to their chin and
Oh,
like cut out the stuff like on their face so like
oh
that
wow.
it was actually like suited to them like it was actually like custom
Okay.
for like each individual customer. And so that was always a funny visual. But just like seeing the way that somebody was able to like take and also some of the pieces that we get like brought in. 'Cause sometimes people like bring their own wigs and she would be like, now why did they give this to me? And then she'd be like, but I guess I gotta make it work because they're paying me. And so
Oh
and
wow.
then she would always find a way to like turn it the fuck out. I don't know her TikTok name, which I find regrettable because I want to look up her stuff. But
Slay
yeah,
to
some
her.
people are absolute wizards with like just
Mm-hmm.
like making hair look like it's growing out of your head, even when it's not.
Yeah, exactly. It's such an important job, actually. We don't talk about enough.
They're wizards. They're wizards, really. They're the modern day wizards. Like if it was the 1600s and they were doing that, like they would be accused of witchcraft and they would be like
Or
boo
they would be
hiss,
King Arthur's little bestie.
literally. Well,
Love that.
Becca, anything else generally on wigs?
I don't think so. I'm kind of excited to get into its history,
The herstory even.
the history of wigs. You're right.
And so yeah, we're gonna throw to a little tiny little break and then we'll be right back to talk more about wigs.
Guys, I'm scared.
Meow.
Let me move my bang back and read that again. Um,
Ooh. Yeah, why not?
and Beck and I are back, and so now we're gonna get into a little bit more background information on wigs because, like, one thing we always try to find out is like, where do these things come from? Like, how does it get from like an idea to something that Beck and I are standing?
Literally. Who
Um,
did that?
literally, and so wigs have literally been around since ancient times.
Which is crazy to me.
Yeah. So one of the first places that wigs, like we know wigs were really happening is ancient Egypt
Mhm.
because many Egyptians had like close cuts. And Egypt is famously a hot place. And so
Oh,
a lot of them were like, wait, what if we put something on our head to like protect us from the sun? And so that was kind of like the first wig.
yeah,
Um,
that was genius, to be honest.
literally innovation that excites. Um,
Literally.
And this is a crazy thing is they used beeswax and resin to keep the wigs in place
So smart.
to make sure they didn't go nowhere during the day.
Mm-hmm.
Because that was before they had the bobby pins. They had to like they were like, so what the hell are we gonna do now? And then they were
What
like,
the
oh, it's
hell?
so easy actually.
Solve that immediately.
And wigs are one of those things that like evolved independently because there wasn't that much like connection to like between all these
Listen.
societies.
Mm-hmm.
But Assyrians, Phoenicians, ancient Jews, Greeks, Romans, ancient Chinese, ancient Japanese, and ancient Koreans, like they all had wigs. Like all of those ancient societies had some form of like wig.
Mm-hmm.
Which is crazy. And actually, I didn't do much research into this, but they were actually banned by the Goryeo Goryeo dynasty of Korea in the late 18th century.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so yeah, could you imagine if the government tried to ban a wig? I'd feel like I'm
I
immigrating.
yeah, I can't even imagine how Americans would feel.
I would not. It would cause a national crisis.
Immediately,
And
no.
so yeah, but then unfortunately, wigs kind of fall out of popularity. They enter a flop era
Mm-hmm.
after the fall of the Western Roman Empire.
Yeah.
But then they kind of come back in the 16th century to hide hair loss, which is kind of like I wouldn't say it's like their main thing now, but it's like a big thing that wigs do.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe it is their main thing, who knows? But and also in the 16th century, they had, say it with me now, lice.
Yup.
And
Bad.
so wigs made lice easier to manage because, you could have like your short little hair where it's like hard for the lice to like get in. And then if you wore a wig, you could just take the wig off and brush the lice out of the wig.
Mm-hmm. They did have little scratchers that you could insert into your wig and scratch your head from the lice that you had also. So that was a nice accessory for people.
Like,
Yeah.
oh my God.
Yeah.
People
It
lice.
was hard
Did
to
you ever have
survive.
lice?
No.
I've never had them either.
Yeah, I hope to keep it that way.
I I hope and pray.
Seems so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway. Oh, and something else about me is that like if I see a hat I want to try on, oh, I'm putting it on my head. I do not care.
Yeah. So
Becca
you
saw
are
this. I tried on a hat
at
the other
y-
day.
yeah, several actually. You are in actually great risk. You are
Hmm.
the number one risk population for lice.
Literally.
That's
But
okay though.
like, you know, you can't
Just
you
have the
can't live
hat.
your life afraid. That's what I always say. Like I can't be afraid of getting lice. What am I supposed to do? Never try another hat on?
Right.
Something that brings me so much joy?
Couldn't be you. Could
Literally.
not be.
Um, and so the wigs are in a little bit of a flop era, and then they come back a little bit, but then they skyrocket to number one on the charts because royals are starting to wear
Mm-hmm.
wigs. So
Yup.
Queen Elizabeth I famously wore that little red wig.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually a big red wig.
Yeah.
And Louis the 13th and Louis the 14th had those like kind of like mullety, like kind of, there's no really way to even describe what they had going on, but it
Mm-hmm.
was quite the thing. Um, those Louis, they were quite dandy little men.
Yeah, you could say that.
And so that really started a trend of like people of status. It was like, oh, you got to wear a wig.
Yeah.
Wigs were like the Lamborghini of
They were like
the
the Cartier
middle,
bracelet
literally
of
the Middle Ages. Like people were like,
yeah.
oh, let me swing my hair around. Um, and so then in the 18th century, we get men in powdered wigs. So that's where
Mm-hmm.
that kind of comes from. Like everybody imagines like the founding fathers kind of in those big
Yeah.
wigs.
Those goofy
Um, and
curly wigs.
wigs, like full wigs, were less common for women.
Mm-hmm.
So women wore like pieces. So like they would wear something to like, give them a little like quiff or something.
Little something
Um,
something.
yeah. But wigs actually end up going out of style again by like 1765.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and people I actually read also, apparently like the trend was to like have gray hair,
Yeah.
and kind of like look dignified because people would powder like their natural hair. And
Mm-hmm.
also people just started doing like natural like effects. Like George Washington, for instance. He didn't wear wigs, but his hair, he just made his hair look like that.
Oh, I see. I
Like
see.
he just styled his hair to give that little, colonial glow,
Got you.
a little colonial style, get his little spit curls.
Right.
Um,
what he wanted to do.
Literally, he was he was going to do it irregardlessly.
Mm-hmm.
And but yeah. And then a big exception to this was the women of Versailles who wore very elaborate wigs.
Oh yeah. And that's like you're thinking like Marie Antoinette, like
Hmm.
her little posse.
Hmm.
The trend was to have the widest skirts possible and the tallest wigs possible. This is like wig central where people are like putting sculptures in their wigs
Uh-huh.
and everything like that. Um
We were
they
supposed to live
were
in that era.
literally, but they did powder their wigs. They did also powder their face to be as pale white as possible. And
Hmm.
also they put paint carmine, straight up carmine on their lips and cheeks to make those red.
Hmm.
So this was destroying their skin and hair, and they were basically killing themselves slowly with all these chemicals and mercury and lead poisoning.
For
But they
beauty.
did what they had to do. And the wigs of this time, they could be up to like 2.5 feet tall, and they
Oh
were
God.
famously super deadly because people would catch on fire all the time. Because if you think about it, candles are the only lights they really had. So, if you're walking through a candlelit hallway, your wig may catch on fire,
Call the fire
actually.
department.
Literally. So, and then it's like a big hassle to like get them off. So people just kind of be on fire. Also famously, one time there's a story of a wig like blocked the view of a driver, and there was like a big old carriage crash in the streets. And many, many people died.
Ugh,
So
camp.
yeah, wigs can be deadly in so many ways, slay or flop ways.
Oh my God, I just thought of a good. Anyway,
Okay.
you just jogged a memory of mine.
You're welcome.
Um, but yeah, yeah, but
Yeah, crazy.
women of Versailles ultimately got their goal. Like they're still style icons, literally hundreds of years later.
Literally, literally,
Um,
they slayed.
yeah. Anyway, we need to see Versailles. When Becca and I go to Paris together, which is inevitable, we do need
Mm-hmm.
to go see Versailles
I think you're right.
because it was one of the things I did not hit while I was in Paris.
Oh
Um,
my God.
but French Baroque is so beautiful.
I know, I'm obsessed
I might
actually.
like it a little bit more than Italian Baroque.
I would support you in that. And that's
Italian
okay.
Baroque is just very like harsh, but like French Baroque is so soft. You're
Yeah.
very French Baroque, Becca.
Yes, it's true. I was gonna say it's exactly my color palette.
Yes, and it's very
Baby blue, baby
soft and
pink.
like
Yeah.
maybe I'm Italian Baroque and you're French Baroque. And if it ain't Baroque, Mama don't fix it.
Baroque.
That's what I always like to say.
I love that. Yeah. Write that down.
And something that I find humorous is that like from this era, barristers and judges in England like still wear wigs like to this day.
Yeah.
Like high up people in the courts dead ass wear wigs to work.
Yeah. LOL, guys.
Such a funny thing about that little society.
And it's like such a serious job.
Oh yeah, one of the most serious, perhaps. It would be
Yeah.
like if Justice Sonia Sotomayor showed up in a wig to work,
Yeah.
but like a big wig, like a powdered wig. You
Big
know,
old wig. It's hilarious.
we should
Too
have
funny,
adopted that
actually.
low key. Like, we,
If
we
that's one
should
thing we were
we
gonna
should have
take from our
kept
mama.
literally we should have kept that energy.
Yeah, literally.
Um,
Something to think about. Something to think about. It's
yeah,
not too late. It's not too late.
yeah. So wigs enter another flop era, but then they come back like during I would say the latter half of the 20th century and of the 21st century. And I find like, especially wigs in celebrity culture, I find that very
Hmm.
attributable to the use of wigs by Black American women.
Right.
Because they are the true wizards with wigs.
Hmm.
Like,
Hmm.
again, I could watch hair install videos on TikTok literally all day.
For hours.
Those
Yeah.
women, those women know their way around fucking hair. Like it's crazy actually.
Yeah.
Um, and but yeah, so obviously people like, and it's funny because people didn't know like people didn't understand it in pop culture for a while, and I feel like people still don't understand when people are wearing wigs all the way,
Right.
or like when someone's hair isn't their actual hair.
Hmm.
Because like apparently it was a big thing. Like Cher one time, I was listening to a podcast, and Cher came to the Oscars, and on the red carpet she had like brown hair, and then
Hmm.
like her regular kind of like Cher brown black hair. And then
Right.
when she came out to present an award, she had blonde hair on, and everybody was like, "Oh my God, how is that possible? She's a wit." Like
She's a witch.
Just put a wig on. Like,
Yeah.
not that
Goofy
hard.
girl.
Um,
So
and
simple,
then we
actually.
get like Katy Perry, Nicki Minaj, Lady Gaga in like the late
Mm-hmm.
kind of 2000s, early 2010s that really
Oh,
bring
yeah.
like wig wearing back into um style.
Mm-hmm.
And then wigs have gotten like so like especially with like Drag Race and with like kind of the new female rap like where there's like a lot of different like female rappers. Like I feel like
Mm-hmm.
wigs have really like doing like interesting fun things with wigs has
Yeah, for
become
sure.
like such a thing. Like if you think of like the WAP cover, like those wigs,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um, like which is very much like, you know, it's giving like Halle Berry and Baps, um, like a lot of that kind of influence. So
Yeah.
we're in a really fun era of wig technology.
Literally.
Except actually, I hear this a lot because I listen to a lot of like drag queen podcasts and stuff, but there's actually
Mm-hmm.
a lace shortage. Like
Oh,
the pandemic has affected like a major lace shortage. So like one of the most popular types of wigs is of course a lace front wig because
right.
that gives more of an illusion that like the hair is actually growing out of your head. But lace is like hard to come by due to the pandemic right now. So hard fronts are like back in.
Oh man, that's kind of scary.
Yeah. But now it's kind of nice because it's caused them to innovate in like the hard front markets. Now hard fronts are like much nicer generally. Like you can
Okay,
buy a nice wig that isn't like lace.
that's such a we've really turned that into a positive, haven't
Literally.
we?
We found the silver lining.
I couldn't ask for more.
But a problem that I found out while researching wig production is
Mm-hmm.
that of course, like in every in any capitalist kind of framework, there's exploitation
Oh,
because
yeah.
a lot of women of South and Southeast Asian descent
Mm-hmm.
have a type of hair that is sought after by making of like human hair wigs.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of them just like either get like forced by someone in their life to like sell their hair or um
Oof.
I assume it must also be I don't know that, but like I could also see it being a thing of like human trafficking, like if they're like, oh, we can make money off your hair,
Mm-hmm.
like they'll take
Right.
your hair away.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that's something to think about. And I'm
Mm.
sure also synthetic wigs can be very like environmentally taxing.
Oh yeah. Oh
Um,
yeah.
but so yeah, there's a dark side to wigotry.
Yeah.
And you know we always like to
Bigotry.
get into the dark side here on the podcast, but
True.
yeah. So Becca, have you ever like outside of the Hannah Montana birthday party,
Yeah.
you ever had to wear a wig for something?
I have never, no, I've never had to. I have worn wigs. I
You
will
said
wear
I've only
wigs.
wanted to.
Yeah, it's never been forced upon me. I'm
Mhm.
gonna, I'm imagining, I mean, I know for many roles you have.
Oh yeah.
So is that kind of the only time that you've had to wear wigs for roles and such?
Yeah, I had to. Yeah, I've worn a lot of wigs throughout my life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I played Edna Turnblad in Hairspray a good many
Of
times.
course. Right,
And
right.
so got to put on a wig for that. Of course,
Mm-hmm.
Miss Connie Lingus
Of course.
had to put on a wig for that. I feel like oh, when I was Thenardier in Les Mis,
Okay.
um, when I was Thenardier in Les Mis, they come out and like there's like the wedding of Marius and Cosette at the end of the musical, and the Thenardiers
Mm-hmm.
crash it to like try to get money from Marius and Cosette. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Again, and so they like dress all fancy, and like ours was like Versailles very much. Like I had this beautiful like green. Oh my God. I wish I had that, but it was like this beautiful like green coat in my green palette, which I enjoy, but it was like very
Oh.
like French Baroque. And I wore I wore one of those little wigs. Like I wore like a powdered wig, but
Mm-hmm.
the gag was that the wig didn't really fit my head.
Classic.
And so like it was funny. It was fine because it was a part that was like meant to be played for laughs. And so
Mm-hmm.
like I literally had like I had really long hair because we were allowed to grow it out for the play.
Mm-hmm.
Um and so I literally just had like my long like dark brown hair coming out of like this white wig that didn't fully fit my head.
Oops.
And one time we would because there would be like a little like kind of scuffle
Mm-hmm.
at the wedding. And so the kid who played Marius, my friend Frankie, one time he like pushed me a little too hard, not to where I felt like scared for my safety, but to the point
Mm-hmm.
where my wig flew off my head a little bit.
Flew off a little bit.
And
Okay,
so
okay.
and so then I was like
Oh my
and
goodness.
Frankie came back and he was like, because I would always be trying to make Frankie like break character. Like I would always say something like I always like ad lib something dumb there to like try to get him to laugh because I knew he thought the whole like exchange was so funny. Because I
Right.
literally also had like the full like white face, blushed cheeks, heart
Yeah.
lipstick. Like
Right.
I went all out.
Yeah.
Um and so yeah, that was a fun time. I had to wear a wig that wasn't specifically for like a female role.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then what other times? Oh, I had to do a lot of like I was in this production of Peter and the Starcatcher, which is another time where I played a woman, technically.
Mm-hmm.
But there's this so Peter and the Starcatcher, if you don't know, is a play that's like a prequel to Peter Pan. It's
Mm-hmm.
about Wendy's mother, Molly, and basically you find out that she met Peter Pan and had her like own journey with Peter Pan before her daughter copied her.
Mm-hmm. Flop.
Um, and Molly has a nanny called Mrs. Bumbrake, and that's who I played. Um,
Lovely.
and so there was this whole thing about we like got to do our own like we got to design our own costumes in that show. So I remember we all had like a base costume that was like khakis, like kind of combat boots, and like a button-up shirt. And
Mm-hmm.
then like during the first scene, it was like the whole thing was supposed to be that we were like telling the story, and it was a little meta theatrical in that way. And so like during the first scene, we got like dressed in our costumes on stage.
Gotcha.
And so for my costume, I took this huge wedding dress that we had in our um costume. A lot of people donate their wedding dresses to high school theater costume departments,
How
which is
kind.
interesting. And so I took this like thing that somebody wore on their special day and I completely cut it up. I cut the skirt off. I like dismembered the skirt from the bodice and then I used the skirt myself and I just like tied it kind of. And
Mm-hmm.
that was like my skirt for the role. And then I had a veil but like and that was supposed to be like my hair because I like took the tool and I like made a bun out of it. So it
Oh.
looked like I had like a little bun. And then at one point, like Mrs. Bumbrake finds love throughout the course of the play. She falls in love with one of the pirates.
Oh, good for
Um,
her.
and she like gets lost in the jungle. And so then at the end of the play, when I'm like reunited with Molly, I had like taken my hair down and like had the whole veil. And it was supposed to kind of represent how,
You're
love
free.
allowed me to let my hair down.
How cute.
So I've had a lot of fun experiences with wigs. Oh, also during that one, we got to do there's a it's a play, but there are two songs in it. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the songs is like an act two opener, and it's like mermaids, like everybody is a mermaid in the song.
Slay.
Um, and so we got to make our own mermaid costumes, and mine was kind of like based off like Beyonce Formation because that had come out around that time. So it was a lot of black and gold and stuff. And so
Mm.
I designed like we were designing these headbands for it. And so my headband was I wrapped a bunch of stuff around it, like gold chains. We had all these like bullets, and so I made like a crown out of like bullets coming out of my head.
Mm.
Like plastic bullets, not real ones. And then I did a really cool like cross hatch of like golden forks on
Oh,
the side of my head. And then
cute.
I had this old skirt and I like completely like ripped like sections of it
Mm-hmm.
to make like tracks. And then I tied the tracks of the skirt to the headband to like create a hair effect.
Fun.
Um, and so yeah, that was a really fun
Slay
process.
soul.
I like when I do something I enjoy about wigs is when like you make something that's not hair look like hair.
Yeah,
Like Janice from Muppets, the lady with like the like
right.
the things. Love her. She's an icon to me.
There's such fun, creative expression in wigs.
Oh yeah, and hair. Because
It's
no,
just
I something about me is I understand those women at Versailles. Because like,
no, I get them.
why
I
not
get
make a
them.
statement with your hair?
Literally. No, we should low key bring that back.
We should bring that back. We should have sculpture. We should have sculptural pieces in our hair.
Exactly.
Um, and
So
so yeah.
true.
But Becca, from your experience wearing wigs, are there any qualities you look for in a good wig?
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. I do appreciate breathability in a wig.
Let's talk
Um,
about that.
yep.
Because
And
they're so damn hot.
literally, could not be more warm when I wear a wig. Um, I do like much like the photo I have behind me.
hmm
I do appreciate like a cheap little wig with a bang that you can just
hmm
throw on, no big deal, just run out the
Shake and go.
house. Exactly. The lob is kind of a sleigh for a colorful wig.
hmm
Yeah, I do look for something like out there, like so not like normal hair. Like I want like a brightly colored wig. I want something crazy. That
Uh-huh.
is my jam for a wig.
hmm
Is there anything you're looking for when you look for a wig in your personal life?
Breathability is a huge thing.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever I'm wearing a wig, like usually it's like referential. So
Okay,
like
yeah.
when I like bought the Miley wig, that
Right.
still missing, guys.
Yeah.
When I bought the Miley wig, like I was like, oh, let me like I have to buy something that's kind of in the reference of like her hair. One
Mm-hmm.
time I dressed up as Cher, so I bought like a long like black wig.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so the reference point is also very important, like what you are trying to reference.
Right.
Um, it can't get like tangled. Like I
Yeah.
hate when wigs are like
Naughty.
tangled. I've never had like a nice like I've never been in possession of like a nice wig.
Yeah, me neither.
So still waiting for that experience. But also like if it's just, a little style you like, you
Mm-hmm.
just want to have a little bob.
Yeah. So fun.
Um, but yeah. So what would you say is like an occasion you'd wear a wig to?
I love a good party wig.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if I was just if I just felt in my soul like I just needed to be wearing a wig in that moment, I would do it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's any occasion in which you can not wear a wig to, except maybe like a passport photo. But
Yeah.
even then, you can think about it.
I mean, if you bought a wig that looked exactly like your hair.
Then that would probably work. Yeah.
It's very much. Have you ever seen Monet Exchange? Is like popular for doing like one of her things is that she wears like they call them like pussycat wigs, but like just little like
Oh,
kind of
yeah,
like
yeah,
pixie
yeah.
cut wigs. And she does she's famous for doing like wig reveals, but she kind of makes fun of like the concept of wig reveal because she will have like a
Right.
kitty cat wig on and then she'll just pull it off and the exact same
It's the
wig will be
same wig.
underneath.
Exactly.
Such
Which
a
is so
good,
important.
yeah,
So
such a
important,
good, such a
actually.
funny thing.
Such important work.
And
Yeah.
yeah.
What
Also
about
wig
you?
reveals. We can't
Oh, yeah. So important.
literally wig reveals are so important.
Mm-hmm. Where would you wear a wig to, though?
Um, a baptism
Right.
or like a christening, I
Great
feel is a
point.
good place to wear, especially if you're godmother vibes. Like you have to be wearing a wig.
Yeah, and it's
Like
gonna have to
something,
hit the floor.
yeah, something sculptural, like yeah,
Mm-hmm.
definitely
Mm-hmm.
something. A funeral under the right circumstances, just make sure
Oh,
it's in black
nice.
and that you can pin like a fierce little veil into it. So like if you're mourning, you can have that.
Right.
Um, my New Year's Eve party was wig themed, but that's also where the breathability comes in because like I couldn't wear a wig on New Year's Eve because I would have been too damn hot because I was wearing like a big coat,
Oh, yeah. It's too much.
which is one of the hard things about going out in the winter in general because it's like what is the right amount to wear?
Exactly, because you're gonna be cold while you walk there or get there, and then you're gonna be
Uh-huh.
hot inside,
Literally.
and I can't deal with that.
It's a devil's bargain, really.
Yeah, one of the most difficult things ever.
Oh, but yeah. I also love I am growing appreciation for male wigs, like when you brought that up. Like
Hmm.
on Legendary, there was this one ball where Law Roach is like his iconic look is kind of like long, sleek, like black hair. But he
Hmm.
wore this like platinum blonde pompadour, which looked like so
Oh my
like
God.
interesting, contrasted his skin tone like so well. And so it was just like
Slay.
it was so fierce. Like
So fun to look at.
no, and when like there's like a short wig that's like sculpted, there's something fun about that too.
Yeah, for sure.
Um,
Ah,
yeah.
what joy.
Yeah, we love
What
wigs.
joy.
Um, yeah, Becca, anything else to say about wigs?
I don't think so.
All right then. Well, we're gonna throw to a eensy weensy little break. Then we'll be back with our Manic Pixie moments and our jump scares.
Yeah.
Ah.
Guys, I'm scared.
My
Oh my God, wig.
my
Oh my God,
week.
wig, you scared me so good. Oh my God, stop. Oh my
My week.
God, wig snatched. Oh my God.
I can define my wig. My week.
Oh,
Perfect. Yeah, that was me
where
being
is
Marie
my
Antoinette. Not speaking in French, but speaking in English because I feel like she could if she wanted to. All
yeah,
right,
probably a
guys.
little bit.
So, it is time for our weekly segments.
Hmm.
So, obviously, we're going to start with our jump scare having to do with wigs. So, this is anything that Quinn or I found not so great, kind of scary, kind of spooky
Mm.
about wigs. So, Quinn, what is that for you?
And I'm so glad we talked about the breathability issue because that was gonna be my original jump scare, but I feel like we have that out of the way because I did
Okay.
think of something else when Becca was talking about how wigs are like deadly, or I forget what she said that made me think of this, but
Uh-huh.
it unlocked like a core memory. So
Good.
the first time I did hairspray, I had to learn my way around wigs because I
Mm-hmm.
had like a couple of them. Did I have two? I probably had two, right? Yeah, I definitely had two. Um, so yeah, I had two wigs the first time I did hairspray. And um so I got pretty good at like securing wigs and like doing like bobby pins and like knowing where to bobby pin them so they would stay in, which is important in hairspray because a lot of people are wearing wigs in that. Sure.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
so I had this friend who was playing Amber Von Tussle, and we were down in the dressing room, and she was about to go on for Cooties, which is Amber's like big song.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, "Oh, can you help me like secure my wig?" And I was like, "Oh, sure, oh, sure." And then I started going in on it, and she's like, "Wow, you're like really good at this. Like they're really going in." And I'm like, "Yeah, babe." And then she's like, "Oh, ow." Like I put one in her head and it like
Hurt
literally like
her.
yes, it like took off a piece of her scalp by accident.
Oh.
Like she was like,
Oh.
I did it a little too hard and she was like bleeding and so she's like crying and stuff and then she has to like go up and like do the song while she's like literally in so much pain that I inflicted upon her because I was doing her wig too good.
Oh man.
Yeah.
That's tough.
Yeah,
Yeah,
literally.
that's why I generally don't let people touch my head too much.
Yeah. Including
So
especially me. I'm on that no fly list.
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And now you have worsened your case. You won't let people
Literally.
touch my head for a long time now.
That's actually true. Um and so yeah. But Becca,
Man. Oh.
when is your jump What
Now.
is your jump scare as it concerns wigs?
I'm not gonna concede. My jump scare is just head sweat, which yeah, is
Mm,
adjacent to breathability, but the
yeah.
concept of head sweat is is so uncomfortable. And then something also is that wigs are like kind of hard to like clean.
Oh, a thousand
And so
percent.
like
Yeah.
kind of when you get a wig sweaty, like she might just have to stay like that.
Yeah, she might just have to stink.
Yeah, be stanky.
Yeah, that's the
God
other
bless
thing
her.
about the lace fronts, the lace shortage that I talked about is that like lace is also hard to clean.
Right.
So like if you get makeup on your lace, which you do have to do inevitably because it's like,
Yep. You have
you have to
to
blend it. You can use makeup to like blend it in, but then you have to like remove some of the makeups because like you can't just keep building makeup on top of it or else it's gonna be like this.
chunky.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. Ooh. Yeah. So there are some kinks we need to work out.
Nobody ever said it was easy,
Nope. Nope. We just said it was fun.
literally. And sometimes fun is not easy.
Famously.
Not us teaching the
Yeah.
literal children.
Whoa. It's kind of a lesson.
Big
Write that down, guys.
deal.
Um, yeah, but so that's a little scary.
Hmm.
But we will persevere. And then we will also leave off on a positive note. So this is our manic pixie moment, considering wigs. Um, is there anything wonderful, lovely, perfect about or adjacent to wigs? So Quinn, what is that for you?
So this actually comes from another time I did hairspray,
Okay.
which was we're now up to the third time at this point.
Mm,
But I had this little my wig for the first half because Edna Turnblad goes through a little bit of a metamorphosis throughout the play.
hmm
And so my wig for the first half was this beautiful, like it had like curlers in it, and then it had some pieces falling down, and it was beautiful. And my
hmm
wig for the second half was like this little like bus driver, like black bob wig.
Oh.
And I was like, I just wasn't really that into it. And so I was like, okay. And then the final scene, I come out like Phoenix Edna. And so like she's rising from the ashes. She comes out of a hairspray can. Like she's doing the whole thing. And so I was like, I need some grandeur. And I think part of the impact of a wig is knowing when a wig won't have impact, you know?
Mm, it's
And so,
powerful.
babe, I took the wig off and I said, you know what I'm going to do instead? I'm gonna I had these long ass like Lane Bryant pantyhose that were black and had like sparkles in them, and I had two pairs of them. And so I wore one pair for the final scene, and then for the um for the other pair, I put them on my head and then I like wrapped them around until I could like tie them and there was no thing. And I had this beautiful like Gloria Swanson-esque like turban
Oh,
that I wore in
wow.
the final scene as opposed to like a wig. And I didn't tell my director before I did it.
I was
And
gonna
I just like
say,
it was like
did you
dress
get in
rehearsal and I
trouble?
just like
Oh,
came
okay.
right out. No, because it was like community theater. It wasn't that big of a deal.
Gotcha.
At that point. Like it's not something I would do now, but like
hmm
uh but I took the
It was fine to do in that
yeah,
setting.
and so I like came out and then I just ended up keeping it because I was like this is the because I had like this whole dress and like what was I supposed to do? Wear a fucking bob? No.
Right. Yeah.
Like yeah. And so it was a little bit of a style icon moment.
She slayed. She slayed.
Yeah, I served. Now
Wow.
what? Like but Becca, what
Lovely.
is your manic pixie moment when it comes to wigs?
Well, something I love to do is, well, for all of college, I did not own an umbrella,
Mm-hmm.
so I often did wear a wig instead. And that is something so great about wigs is that while you may sweat underneath them,
Mm.
you are protected from the elements, the
No, because
external
there
elements.
is something like you don't even need like I don't even need a hood or like a rain jacket when I'm in the rain. If I just have something to cover my head,
Perfect,
yeah,
literally.
like even if I'm just wearing like a beanie or something, but like the thing of rain literally falling on your head, like it's one of the worst feelings. It's
I
like
hate
having to
it.
pee, rain falling on your head, especially like a light drizzle is like one thing, and then you're like, oh, I'm Drew Barrymore, I'm like romanticizing it. But then when it starts to
Yeah,
like rain, and you're like, oh, just this like water coming from the sky is now soaking
just
me.
hitting me. Yeah,
Yeah.
hate that actually.
Filth
Hate
water
that.
that got like sucked up
Recycled
from
from the
this dirty
ground.
ass street I live on and then is now
Literally.
falling back down on me.
Yeah. Oh my God, literally. The streets of could be anywhere, to be honest. Um,
And the streets famously are anywhere.
so they say. Depends on where actually you are though. Um, yeah, so that is good about wigs that you can kind of
Mm.
protect yourself there. Um,
And
and
Becca did show up to something I was at one time, a restaurant, wearing a
yes.
wig and saying, "Well, I don't own an umbrella," and I got a hearty chuckle out of it. I
Yeah,
was
it's
like,
true.
this is truly." You want to talk about innovation that excites?
Wear a wig.
Wear a wig, literally.
Yeah, it was bright blue, but it went well with my outfit, so that's good.
But it's like Becca bright blue, you know.
Yeah, you're right. Like that one.
Yeah,
That one up there.
it's very that. Yeah,
Yeah. Could be actually that exact one. Who's to say?
top left.
exactly.
Mhm.
But yeah, so wigs are so fun, guys. You should definitely invest in one. If you invest, you should spend $12 on Amazon if you don't have
Yeah.
one yet.
Or Spirit Halloween.
Yeah, if they're
Um,
still around you right now,
yeah.
depending on when you're listening to this. Close
I
for
once
the
had this
shimmer.
I once had this great tweet that was it was RuPaul when he had his like talk show for a second. They took a
Hmm.
video of him like walking around his talk show set being like, and he just goes like, ooh, ah. And then there's just one section where he goes, oh, like excited. And I tweeted
Oh.
that out being like me driving around my hometown, seeing which local businesses have turned into Spirit Halloweens.
Ooh, ah,
Ah,
oh.
oh, put one there.
Oh my God,
Um,
literally.
but yeah, I think that's our show on wigs. Um, and it's been really hard to scuba dive in a wig, so I'm glad
Oh my
we
God,
were able to get
exhausting.
through that.
In
But
that setting, it
Becca,
did not protect us from the elements, but that's
no,
okay.
literally, yeah.
Yeah, the
It was
only
like you
reason
had
we
to you had to
could.
keep pulling it out of like the goggles.
It was
It's a hard thing.
crazy.
It's a hard thing to swim. But anyway.
Yeah,
But
here we are.
we wanted to provide you guys with that experience. That's what this
That's
podcast is
what we
about
do.
ultimately.
Exactly.
But Becca, where can people find you if they want to see your wigs?
Thank you. Well, they can follow me at Becca Hobart on Instagram, Beck's Gloss on Twitter and Spotify, and Where Y'all Going During World War III on TikTok. They can also find me purchasing next maybe a yellow wig, and then I'm gonna hide
Ooh.
in the traffic light in the middle and just be on all the time to confuse people.
Cause multiple accidents.
And I'm excited about it. But yeah. And then Quinn, where can the people keep up with you individually if they're so inclined?
You can find me at Quinn P. Murphy on Instagram and TikTok and at Quinn P. Murphy _ on Twitter. And you can find me touching hair.
Uh,
The touch, the
not mine.
feel. No. I'm not allowed to touch Becca's head anymore. One time you impale somebody's head with a bobby pin. It's like the whole rest of your life, you're like marked.
You're in the doghouse.
You're in the
You're in the
doghouse.
doghouse.
And that is the pervasiveness of cancel culture in our society.
Tucker Carlson is gonna be pissed when you hear
I'm
about
going
this.
on Tucker. I'm announcing. But anyway, that's
Yeah,
not true, guys. That's a scene. But anyway,
that's a
Becca,
joke.
where can people keep up with the show? They are so interested and inclined to do so.
Yeah, good question. Well, they can follow at Manic Pixie Jumpscare on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, where we post the podcast at length and also exclusive content. And they can also email in at manicpixiejumpscare@gmail.com, where we will respond to anything you could possibly say.
Literally.
Literally anything.
Bird saying anything, we're like, oh yeah, well.
Yeah, good, nice. Counterpoint. Yeah.
Point counterpoint.
Devil's advocate. We will fight you. JK, guys. We will probably agree with you, especially if you have praise for us, which
Yeah,
we always accept.
that's one of the best things you could put, possibly.
Yeah, you're on our good list immediately, and then we will manifest good things for you in your life. So yeah,
we're Quinn.
we're Quinn, and we're Becca.
We're Becca.
And
And thank you
thank
for
you
listening.
for listening. Will you wear wigs? When will you wear wigs? Maybe.
What?
Do you not know this reference?
Wait, it sounds familiar.
Elijah Wood being interviewed for like a Lord of the Rings press
Yes.
junket, and then
Will
his
you wear wigs?
co-star,
Yeah.
pranking him. When will you wear wigs?
I think, yeah, I do. Yes.
Do you wear wigs? Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And now the podcast is over.
Yeah.
Manic Pixie Jump Scare is hosted by Quinn Murphy
And Becca Hobart. Executive produced by Quinn Murphy and Becca Hobart.
Sound and video editing by Quinn Murphy.
Social media management and highlights by Becca Hobart.
And our theme song was written by Quinn Murphy, Becca Hobart, and Nandita Mahesh.